In the quiet village of Umuduru in Imo State, there once lived a wealthy man named Chief Nnanna Okezie, his wife Madam Enkem, and their two sons, Chuks and Raymond. The Okezie family was known far and wide for their riches. Their mansion sat proudly in the heart of the village, painted white with tall pillars and a golden gate. To outsiders, they were the perfect family. But inside that house, behind closed doors, strange things whispered in the dark. Chief Nnanna was a man of many mysteries. He was respected, feared, and envied. He rarely went to community gatherings, and even when he did, his presence commanded silence. Yet, for all his wealth, there was something deeply unsettling about him, something only his family noticed. From a young age, Chuks noticed two strange things about his father. First, Chief Nnanna never ate meat. No matter how delicious the soup was, he would pick out every piece of meat and hand it to his wife. "I don't eat meat," he always said, his voice flat, almost cold. Second, every time before entering a certain room at the far end of the corridor, Chief Nnanna would stomp 3 times on the floor. Thud, thud, thud. Only then would he turn the brass knob and enter. No one was allowed into that room, not even Madam Enkem. Whenever Chuks or Raymond asked what was inside, their father's face would darken. "Never go near that room," he warned one night, his eyes glowing eerily in the lamplight. "It's not a place for children." But curiosity, like smoke, always finds a way to rise. Chuks grew into a fine young man, tall, intelligent, and kind. His heart was tender like his mother. He was known across Umuduru as the boy who gives. He gave to beggars on the roadside, shared his food with classmates, and helped widows in the village carry firewood. Even when he was sad, he smiled so others wouldn't worry. His mother often said, "Chuks, you have the heart of gold. Never let the world take it away." But as he approached his 18th birthday, the golden light of his heart began to dim, for the shadow of his father's secret was waiting for him. Not long after Chuks turned 18, Chief Nnanna fell gravely ill. His once commanding voice became weak, and his eyes seemed to sink into darkness. Doctors couldn't explain it. He refused to go to the hospital, insisting, "It's not sickness that medicine can cure." Around this time, strange things began to happen to Chuks. He would wake up in the morning with no memory of when or how he went to sleep. Sometimes, he'd find himself standing outside in the cold night air, barefoot, staring into the forest. He began to hear voices in his head, whispers that weren't his own. "You are chosen, Chuks. Your time has come. The door must be opened." At first, he thought he was losing his mind. Then came the anger, sudden, violent bursts he couldn't control. He'd be laughing one minute and screaming the next. One evening, while playing with his younger brother Raymond, Chuks got angry after Raymond teased him. In a moment of rage, he grabbed a broom and threw it. But before their eyes, the broom turned into a bottle midair, smashing into Raymond's forehead. Raymond fell instantly, lifeless. Madam Enkem screamed. She saw what had happened with her own eyes, and she knew then the curse had started. That night, while Chief Nnanna lay coughing in his room, Madam Enkem packed Chuks's bags. Her hands shook as she counted money and transferred millions into his account. "Go, my son," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Don't ask me why, just go. Leave IMO and never look back. Mama, I didn't mean to. I know, my son, but there are things you don't understand. You must live. She hugged him tightly and pushed him toward the waiting night bus to Lagos. Chuks cried silently as the bus moved away from the village, watching his mother fade into the distance like a memory. In Lagos, Chuks tried to rebuild his life. He rented a small apartment in Surulere and used part of the money his mother gave him to start an electronics business. Surprisingly, the strange voices stopped. He began to sleep peacefully again. His business grew slowly, and he became known as a kind, trustworthy young man. He gave to the poor just as before, often remembering his mother's words. One day he called home. His mother answered, her voice trembling with joy and sadness. She told him something that left him speechless, that a letter offering him a scholarship to study in Italy had arrived the day he left. But his father, in anger, had torn it to pieces. "Why, Mama?" he asked, pained. "I don't know, my son. Maybe because he didn't want you to leave. Maybe because he feared something." A month later, tragedy struck again. A friend from the village called him with a trembling voice. His mother had died suddenly. His father was now bedridden, weaker than ever. Life became harder for Chuks. His business slowed. There was no one to send money from home. But amid his struggles, he met a woman, Nnanna. She was kind and gentle, the light he needed in his darkness. They fell in love and got married quietly in Lagos. For a while, it seemed happiness had finally found him. But happiness in Chuks's life never stayed for long. He began to have nightmares, dreams of men in red garments, chanting his name. He saw strange symbols drawn in fire. When he looked in the mirror, he sometimes saw a different version of himself, smiling wickedly, even when he was. Nnanna too began to see things. At night, she would wake up screaming, claiming to see shadows standing by the door or a face watching her from the window. They began to pray fervently. Pastors, prophets, and strangers in the streets gave them the same message. "Your battle is not here. It's from your father's house." One evening, Chuks received a shocking call from his father. The old man's voice was frail and shaking. "My son, come home. I'm dying. There are things you must know before I go." After fasting and praying for 7 days, Chuks finally traveled back to IMO. The compound felt colder than he remembered. The air was heavy, almost choking. His father lay on the bed, surrounded by old photographs and unopened letters. "Chuks," Chief Nnanna whispered, "listen to me carefully. I made a terrible mistake. Years ago, at age 26, I joined a secret cult despite running from this same cult for years." He coughed blood and continued. "Your mother's death, it was their doing. Raymond's death, too. They warned me never to pull out, and when I tried, they struck me down with sickness. I fell sick 1 year earlier than I should have. They said when I die, you must take my place." Then, with trembling lips, he revealed the truth about the forbidden room, the one Chuks had always been warned against. Inside it were calabashes, red and black markings, and a figurine idol placed at the center of a chalk-drawn circle. That idol. Chief Nnanna said, his voice quivering, is the heart of the covenant. Anyone who isn't part of the brotherhood and dares to see it will fall into a sickness no doctor can cure. That's why I never let your mother or any of you near it. He went on, voice weakening. This cult, it runs in our bloodline. My father was part of it, his father before him too. It is passed from father to first son when they turn 18. And when the time comes for the next heir, there are always 4 signs. He raised a trembling finger. First, the father falls gravely ill but cannot die. Second, darkness begins to creep into the son's mind. Third, he starts to lose his memory of the night because his spirit spends each midnight inside that room with the idol till morning. None of us ever remember what happens during that time. And the fourth, wealth and opportunities will begin to pour in. That's how the darkness binds the air completely. Tears rolled down Chuks's face as his father continued. To break the curse, you must leave this land and never return. Your children and their children after them must never come back. The battle will follow you everywhere you go, but leaving this ground is your only chance to fight it. For hundreds of years, no Okezie has ever broken free. Chuks trembled. Papa, why me? Because you are my blood, his father replied weakly. The curse follows the bloodline. When I die, they will come for my manhood. If you refuse, they will destroy you. Leave, Chuks. Don't wait for my burial. Don't look back. He handed Chuks a bank document. There's 50 million. Money I made honestly before I joined the cult out of fear for my life. Take it. Start again. As Chuks stood over his father's body, his phone rang. It was Nnanna, his wife, her voice urgent and terrified. The pastor said you must come back before nightfall, or you will not survive. He said the battle isn't yours to fight. Your true battle waits in Lagos. Without thinking, Chuks ran. He left his father's body, the house, and the blood money behind, fleeing before sunset. That night in Lagos, strange dwarfish creatures appeared beside his bed, short, dark, with glowing red eyes. They stood still, watching him and his wife breathe. Nnanna screamed. Chuks grabbed his Bible. They prayed and fasted for 3 days without food. On the 4th night, their pastor arrived with prayer warriors. Tonight, the pastor said, we fight the covenant your father made. As they prayed, the air grew thick. Shadows crept along the walls, whispering. The men in red appeared, chanting, summoning. The floor shook. But the prayers grew louder. Bible verses filled the air. At midnight, a thunderous sound cracked through the house, and the darkness vanished like smoke. They had won. From that day, peace returned to Chuks's life. Nnanna conceived soon after a baby boy. They named him Raymond in memory of his lost brother. Chuks used the 50 million his father left him to build a small house and expand his business honestly. Months later, word reached him that his uncles and aunts had shared his father's wealth, the blood money. But strangely, every business they started with it failed. The house Chief Nnanna built eventually crumbled to ruins overnight after a storm. And the people of Umuduru whispered, the spirits have taken back what belonged to them. Years later, Chuks became a man of faith and humility. He dedicated his life to helping the poor and warning others about the dangers of greed and secret covenants. Curiosity is wisdom when guided by light, but destruction when drawn by shadows. Beware of wealth born in darkness, for it demands payment not in money, but in blood. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another captivating story. See you in the next one.